Hello and welcome wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to So What Now. Here, we want to talk to you about God in the way that He teaches us and through practice.
This post is entitled Fear Not. It was written by Doe, who shares personal stories. There have been times in my life where I have felt completely flooded with an intense feeling of fear. Perhaps you've been acquainted with such a feeling and can remember feeling this way as far back as your early childhood. Anyone can experience fear or be afraid of something. However, some fears are irrational. For example, the fear of spiders, also known as arachnophobia, or the fear of tunnels, bridges, and so forth. Personally, I think the best way to get rid of fears are to face them. According to the Bible, there are two categories of fears. The first one is defined as a good fear, one that is to be experienced and increasingly developed. The second is a fear that we must conquer. The good fear is called the fear of God. This does not actually mean that we must be afraid of God, because according to Luke chapter 12 verses 4 to 5, as well as John chapter 15 in verses 14 to 15, upon accepting Jesus' sacrifice, believing in His resurrection, and choosing to obey Him, we become His friends. Therefore, we cannot be scared of God if He is our friend. What the fear of God means is to have a reverential fear, such as a fear where God is held in high regard with awe and veneration. This attitude will naturally manifest in us as we realize how perfect, holy, and magnificent God is. This attitude also develops once we understand that by ourselves, we are not worthy enough to be in King Jesus' presence. Because of our sinful lives and our human nature, which contradicts the order of God, we are supposed to be separated from the Creator. Fear of God has to do with a deep respect that is due to the King for the power and wrath that He possesses. It is the complete revelation of the character and nature of God that opens our eyes to see how worthy He is to be revered. This fear can also be connected to one's desire to obey God and discern His will. The second type of fear is a fear of life's circumstances and the things of this world. The Cambridge Dictionary defines this as an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous and likely to cause pain or posed as a threat. This is a type of fear where one would be afraid of spiders, tunnels, bridges, for example, or anything or any situation that is intimidating. For example, in Genesis chapter 25, verses 29 to 34, chapter 27, specifically in verses 27 to 44, it tells the story of how Jacob stole his brother Esau's birthright and the blessings that their father was to pronounce over him as the firstborn. After Jacob did that, he fled to the home of his mother's father, where his uncle Laban and his daughters lived, as he was instructed to do so by his parents. And his brother Esau was out to kill him. In chapter 28, Jacob slept, dreamed, and heard from God, who promised to bring him back to the land of his father. In chapter 31, verse 3, God told Jacob to return to his father's land and that he would be with him. In chapter 32, when Jacob was on his way to the land of his father, he sent messengers ahead to Esau to let him know that he was coming, and in order to find favor in Esau's eyes, as mentioned in verse 5. After delivering the message, the messengers came back to inform Jacob that they met up with Esau and that he was already on his way to meet Jacob, along with an army of 400 men. Then Jacob was afraid and decided to organize a convoy in order to appease Esau before meeting with him face to face. See Genesis chapter 32, verses 7 to 21. Jacob was scared of his brother Esau, and he was afraid that Esau would harm him and his family. However, remember that God had made a promise to Jacob that he would be with him. In Genesis chapter 31, verse 3. All this to illustrate that if you are obeying God and following God's word and biblical instructions, you should not be afraid no matter the circumstance. In the book of Isaiah chapter 41, verse 10, it says, in the New International Version, I quote, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." At the end of 2017, I was facing a number of issues in my life. I was feeling anxious about the university program I was enrolled in, as my studies were not working out the way I had hoped. Even though I knew where God wanted me to be, I still had the impression that my choices went against His. For example, I needed money, and the amount of tasks I had to complete required more time than there was in a given day. The stress that this created and that I was experiencing during this time resulted in a negative impact on my health, to the extent that I was experiencing significant tension in my muscles. And it seemed as if there was nothing that can solve this problem. Shortly after Christmas, I met up with a friend to share my worries and doubts about the situation with the university and my studies. Talking about it with my friend helped me calm down. My friend shared a word with me that I would never forget, and it was, "Do not fear." My friend mentioned that God instructs us not to worry approximately 365 times throughout the entire Bible. The way my friend emphasized it was no coincidence. If you trust God, adhere to His instructions, and have already given your life to Him, don't let your spirit be troubled. You ought not to be worrisome. As referenced in the book of Isaiah, chapter 9, in verse 6, Jesus is the Prince of Peace. Therefore, we can put all our troubles and worries into God's hand and believe that He will take care of our problems, no matter how scary they may seem. To complete the story, I returned home that evening. I asked God to take my cares and to carry all of my burdens, because God did not, and He does not want me to ever be fearful or worrisome. This is why I believe in God, because I can put my trust in Him. The next day, I woke up with a sound mind and without any more pain in my muscles. The entire situation with my studies and program got resolved. I now have more free time, I don't spend my money unwisely anymore, and I no longer lack anything. Here is some advice for you, and it is one of the best counsel that I could ever share, as it is biblically inspired. If you believe in God, no matter the situation you are facing, don't worry about it. As mentioned at the end of the last post, God knows you, and He loves you as if you were the only human being on earth. This is the reason why you should not fear. Life may not always be easy. However, with God as your support and guide, your life will have purpose. God bless you. The definition of fears was inspired by an article called "What Does the Bible Say About Fear?" from the website gotquestions.org.
Thanks for spending this time with us. You can listen to our other episodes on our account and the So What Now playlist with the songs that we like on YouTube and Spotify. Don't forget to subscribe to help us reach more people. We'll see you soon!